Hello, welcome to 8.9 News. I'm ffinlo Costain. Today's headlines: Jetstream-linked risk of simultaneous harvest failures threatens food and global security. A Scottish farm addresses its muck heap challenge. And what are soil carbon stocks and how are they measured? This and more at 8.9.com. Bryce Cunningham from Mossgiel Farm in Ayrshire is working hard to deliver net zero dairy and exclusively positive social and environmental impacts. Mossgiel's muck heap turns waste into compost, but it also creates heat and methane, which Bryce is now hoping to capture. I asked Bryce to tell me more.
So on our farm, we've got quite a diverse muck heap. We've got quite a few things in there. So we've got the usual, so the animal bedding and the dung. We also put a little bit of milk in there. Now that milk is any milk that's perhaps from waste milk when we're washing out the plant, or if our customers haven't quite used all the milk, we can bring that back and then we put it right on top of the muck heap instead of just into the slurry store. Milk's obviously got some fantastic bacteria in there that really helps with the breakdown. Then more interestingly and more recently, we've actually started working with one of Scotland's largest coffee roasters. They were looking for some way to be able to reuse the waste coffee. So that's the coffee husks when they're roasting, and also the coffee grinds. So after the coffee's been brewed through the machine, they've got the coffee grinds as well. So they're all mixed in there as well. And we've got 2 coffee shops that we operate locally, and we use the food waste from there that all goes into the muck heap.
And just to give us some idea in terms of the volumes that you're dealing with on a daily or weekly basis, how big is your muck heap?
So our muck heap can get to quite a considerable size. It is seasonal, so of course we only muck the sheds out once or twice a year when the animals are in them. They're outside all summer, so about 6 months of the year they're outside. We do have a little bit of fresh grass comes in every now and again, and we've got a couple of 100 litres of milk every sort of week or 2 weeks. But the coffee itself, we're putting about half a tonne of the waste coffee, and that's quite normal through the week to get that in there.
Now, you've talked about a problem in association with this muck heap. What is that problem?
So the problem we're finding is, as we're doing more and more research into muck heaps and emissions on farm, is that we're turning our muck heap, and we're obviously trying our best to compost it, not doing the most amazing job in the world, but doing what we can. And when we're turning it over, we're obviously seeing all this steam coming off. There's a lot of heat coming off that muck heap and straight off into the atmosphere. We're not capturing it, and it's not a covered muck heap. There's also the emissions that we're not seeing. So that's all our methane, our carbon, our nitrogen that's been lost from the muck heap that we could be putting either into our plants or capturing it for better use somewhere else in the farm.
So how are you hoping to resolve this heat and methane challenge?
Well, as a business, we strive to be net zero. We're a business that we don't use single-use plastic. We do other things like sending our silage wrap to be turned into fencing posts. So when we start seeing all these issues, but it really gets to us. It really bothers us that we're getting this kind of problem and how best we can utilise it. I put a post up on LinkedIn and Facebook yesterday, mainly because we're actually looking for a bit of feedback on how best to deal with this. One of the technologies I have looked at in the past is anaerobic digestion. Now, for a business of our size, we need to spend about £500,000 to get this AD plant in. Don't get me wrong, the benefits would be huge if we could get it working. As a dairy, we supply about 2,000 customers. So we've got a lot of vans, heavy trucks, tractors, forklifts to operate. So that methane that could be captured could be used there. However, it obviously degrades the muck that goes out to the field, and then we can't get the same utilisation in the soil. One thing I have learned about more recently is fermentation. So instead of composting it through heat, we compost it through fermentation, and that can be very, very beneficial to the soil. However, we wouldn't get the secondary benefit of being able to operate other machinery. So there's sort of an opportunity cost there, whether we go down the route of trying to find £500,000, which is a small business, is not going to be an easy thing to do, or we look at an alternative and cheaper option, which is better for the soil, which is fermentation. So again, it's one of these things in farming where there isn't a perfect answer, but we've got to find an answer that works for us.
And in terms of that fermentation, how much cheaper is it? I mean, you talk about £500,000 for anaerobic digestion. Is it significantly cheaper?
Well, as I say, Ffinlo, it's something I've only just found out in the past 2 years. So I'm still kind of looking into it, but it does look as if it's about £500,000 cheaper than the other option. So it's significantly cheaper. Plus, you've not got the ongoing wage cost and fuel cost of having to turn your compost constantly. So it's certainly something of a lot of interest there.
Now, regardless of whether you go down the AD route or the fermentation route, where do you hope that necessary investment will come from?
So we're finding as time goes on at Mossgiel that finance is one of our biggest challenges. So we've been trying to get finance since day one. For those of you that know Mossgiel, we were bankrupted in 2016. We've not been able to finance anything significant really over time, and we've done everything we could by reinvesting profits in as we could. Last year, we had the opportunity to build an eco dairy. It was going to really help us along with our net zero ambitions. And the Scottish Government very kindly offered us 40% towards this enormous bill of being able to build this dairy. Now, unfortunately, another arm of the government didn't quite see the benefits to it the way we did, and they put a massive timeline on it that we couldn't meet, and basically that all fell through. So we lost about £1 million of funding. Since then, we've been looking to crowdfunding, we've been looking at private investment firms, we've been looking at other regenerative farmers, even people in our own milk pool that supply us milk. And we've got a lot of different options out there, but we're finding it very difficult and very challenging and very frustrating that the sort of more legacy lenders are not really into this way of farming, if you like.
Now, you're not going to be the only person in this position, and there must be many farmers who are wanting to do interesting things within the regenerative or the agroecological space, or to scale up their businesses. Do you think there needs to be more effort from government, perhaps, talking to the banks and the banks themselves thinking more broadly, developing models so that they better understand the needs of people like yourselves so that they're able to make that investment, whether it's public or private, in the future?
Yes, there certainly has to be much more effort put into supporting green initiatives. Now, we could all sit here and blame the government all day long and blame politicians and this, that and the next thing, but at the end of the day, change always comes from the ground up and from private firms and private investment, whether that's in very small scales or very large scales. So I'm a great believer in that our private firms have got to do better, our private banks have got to do better. The one thing that's really bothering me right now is the whole greenwashing initiatives that's happening from the banks. I was at the Royal Highland Show recently. Every single bank had it plastered all over the place that there were green investments and investing in renewable ways and regenerative farming and blah, 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 all over the place. When it comes to the nitty-gritty, the only thing they are interested in is bottom line profit, and that's it. Whereas I think they need to take a step back, make slightly less profit, looking at green initiatives, looking at the problems we have out there for our planet and making decisions based on that. I think they all need to take a good hard look at themselves and decide what they want to do.
That was Bryce Cunningham from Mossgiel Farm. More about this and our other headline news on our website, 8.9.com. That's all for now. We're back on Thursday. Thanks for watching.